Hey guys, I am back. I am back from Louisville, and we're going to be doing a paint along. And I did not do this one yet this afternoon because it was snowing here and it was kind of a snowstorm. And so we had nobody in classes today. And so today we're going to be doing it. You guys are going to be my guinea pigs. So we're going to do it for the first time. And so normally I don't do that, but here we go. Yeah, we had a lot of snow here in Illinois. The beer today will be Apolliner, Municher Lager, Münchener is how they pronounce it in German. So we're just going to open this up. And I think I've had this one before, but we had this for my dad's celebration of life, and so we had a bunch of this left over, and I thought, well, I'm going to test it again. I know I'm going to like this one. This is a pretty good beer, probably, for sure. And so, and also, if you may notice that I'm trying to work out my video stuff, and so see the background is like, well, there's my mic. You can kind of see it. See my mic right there. But we're going to try this AI thing, but we'll see how this works. And so let's go right away. Well, I gotta wait for the foam to go down a little bit here. So let's go right into our supplies, and our supplies are Holbein watercolors, of course, because they don't dry out ever. And we also have our brushes, my BeckerArt brushes, which are synthetic nylon, and Stonehenge paper. And let's who's all here. Hey, Mike, Maria, and Karen. West Virginia. Oh, cool. So I was driving home from, through Indiana yesterday, and man, there was a snowstorm there last night too, and it was a horrible ride. And I've just noticed recently that there are way too many semis on the road. Anyways, so what we have here is my website, and this is where you find out all my stuff. And so anybody that's new here this week, it usually is after I do a workshop. And so I was workshop, again, like I said, in Kentucky for the Kentucky Watercolor Society. I also judged their show, and so you can go look at their site probably pretty soon and see what the paintings were that I judged in. And so yeah, this is where you get all the information about what I'm doing, where I'm at, and all that stuff. All right, and so our value study, this is about the most important thing, right? So what we're going to do now is we are going to do this it's kind of almost black and white as it is. It looks like a one color study, right? But I'm not going to try to do it that totally in that yellows. I'm going to put a little bit more color than just one. You can try it like almost like a one color. You can just use yellow and black. I mean, you can do that if you want to. I'm going to make it a full color, not quite as non-color like this, like monotone. But again, you can make it monotone if you'd like. So just see what you think, And so basically, look at our. If you look at let me get my mouse here. So right here, if you look at where the darks are, so basically the light comes right through the middle here. And then we have like this backward C, kind of for the composition, this being the area of interest, the center of interest, and then this is our secondary interest. Now the sky is going to be definitely bright like that, and it's going to be yellow. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use more violets for the foreground, and so because yellow and violet is basically complements. So we're going to go with a little bit of violets in there, and I may give some of the color to the swimsuits and stuff like that. So we'll see. So anyways, I did not do this one yet today because we had a snowstorm and there was nobody coming to class. And so we were deciding you're going to be my guinea pigs today. So if you see something I'm doing wrong, you got to say something. All right, so Barbara's from Green Bay, which is also snowy, she says. And Ginger also from Green Bay. Thanks. The year I won the Kentucky Watercolor Society, I couldn't quite remember what year it was that I won. Because I had my first award, the first award I won, and was from Kentucky Watercolor Society, which is really strange because I was a judge now, and so that was many years ago, right after my school. So I didn't quite know. I'm going to find it out. I'm going to go into my garage and have a bunch of packages there with like old stuff in them. So I'm going to go through and see if I can't find. I think I may still have the thing for that. But anyway, so this is going to be darks, and my lights are my whole background, and the water are my lights. And the mountains are a gray tone that I will put, I guess that's going to be part of the dark. You know, it's going to be a gray tone that'll be in the background, but I think it'll be a little bit darker. All right, so here we go. Let's go to our tabletop. And let's get our beer out of the way here. Well, I got to test it. So Carol is also snowing it. Yeah, that's a good beer. That's a really good beer. That's about a 10.5. It's almost 11, but not quite 11. But it's a real good beer. Good German beer. Cheers, everybody. So let's put that over here. And get my hand out of there. And so you see, I have I'm trying to do this background thing where I don't have a background. See back here? There's no. It's all visible. So that's a new thing I just figured out how to do. And so we'll see if it works. So anyways, again, this is my first attempt at this painting. So here we go. And so basically I start with my lights like I always do, right? And so that's gonna be everything. Everything is light except for the people and the waves and the sand in front. So the buildings, the mountains back here, they're gonna be part of my dark, but I'm gonna make a middle tone. So I'm just going to wet everything. And I forgot that this is that board that maybe it's been not so good, actually. So I'm not going to wet the whole thing all at first. I'm going to wet it as I go along. Like I'll wet the whole top half. And then since I'm going to use some yellow, I like to use white with my yellow because I feel my yellow is too bright a yellow. So first thing I'm going to do is clean out my white here. And I probably should have cleaned my palette, right? So let me clean my palette real quick. I just came back yesterday, and it was the worst drive I think I've ever had. I hate that Highway 65 through Indiana. It's just, and then when I get all the way to Illinois, or down by where it changes to the 294, it just was an accident. And then I would say there is one car to every 15 semis, and it's just like crazy nowadays. You know, I was like surrounded and boxed in by semis like all the way around 294 here in near Chicago. I was like, man, there's a lot of. I'm not sure if it was like a thing that they all ride on Wednesday night or something. But anyways, let's go. Here we go. So I wet it, and so here now I'm going to take some white. And again, I'm making my yellow not so vibrant, and by adding white to it, making it more of a pastel yellow. And if I want to dull it down, I'll even put a little bit of lavender into it, just so it's not so vibrant. Yellow can be almost way too vibrant. And maybe a little bit of orange in there too. It tends to be very, very potent when you're using yellow. And so I love to put white in it. And it gives me like more of a dull yellow. Like the scene, I mean, I'm going to do a little bit of the scene like that, and I'm going to put my sun a little bit farther over than what it is in the photo. And it's kind of high up in the photo, so I'm going to put it like right here. And I'm going to keep my brush out of that area. That's the only thing that's going to be white, along with the reflections in the water. Everything else would be darker than that. You know, like I said, I'm using orange, a little bit of orange, and this is the permanent yellow orange. I'm not going to be mixing with blue, so I don't have to worry about, you know, just going right through these mountains or putting a little lavender in it, because it won't turn green. It will not turn green because I'm not using blue. Well, lavender has some blue in it, but see over here, I'm going to dull it down a little bit. Hey Tina, no, it's never too late. Never too late. And for anybody that's new here, these videos are on here forever. And I was showing my class yesterday in Louisville that that you can find it through the search bar, and you can find any kind of. I've done over, I think, man, we were looking, I think it was over 400. I think it's over 600. Maybe like 500 videos. I have to look again. But there's a lot of videos here that you can go to and look at, and also things like all types of other things like how to frame your work, how to wax it, and so that's pretty much my sky up here. And look at that yellow is kind of it's okay. I should put more white, I think, in some spots here. I want it dull. And then these mountains back here, I'm going to make darker, right? And so I think I'm going to use some orange, some a little bit more yellow orange. Or should I use more? I'm going to use lilac and lavender. Make it kind of a grayish yellow. And there's like two different parts of this. And so I'm going to do it while it's wet. And now I get soft edges. Because it's hazy. It's like a hazy day, right? And so the beach is hazy. And I hear this year when they had their Laguna Beach Plein Air Invitational, they had many days like this. I heard that it was very foggy, very atmospheric, with all the atmosphere. So how did I get that? Again, that was lavender and lilac with this yellow mix that I've had going here. And look at how smooth everything's getting. And I'm going to make that there's like two sets of these mountains back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back when it's dry to get that other version back there. Or should I do that now? Let me think about this. So let's get some purple in here, make it even darker yet over in this area. I'm kind of going a lot with what is there, ain't I? So that's okay. I just like this picture, how it went from a very light and just over very blurry type of thing background, and so that you're working wet in the wet. The only way to get this is like this, so I'm getting it, is wet in the wet. You just put your water down and bleed your paint into there. That's a big thing when I go to teach, my first time. Well, that's too light. Let's go with a little darker. When I teach my classes for the first time, and if somebody sees me for the first time teaching, I really teach them how to, do wet in the wet, because everything we do in watercolor is wet in the wet, where we drop pigment into the water. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called watercolor, I guess, because it is watercolor. We use water and pigment. All right, so there's kind of a neat violet in there right now. See how cool that looks? And for that mountain back there, I'm going to make a tint of color later on. Clouds, not mountains, right? Are those clouds? Oh, those are clouds back there? Oh, you're probably right. That probably is clouds back there. The one behind this mountain here. So yeah, I probably should do it now. You're right. I probably should do it now while it's still wet and just make them soft. I'm going to do that. I'll get a little bit smaller brush. So see, it's fun when I'm doing this for the second time. Usually I do this for the second time. Naples yellow. Yeah, Naples yellow is a pretty good color. I don't have that on my palette, but I should get that. I should definitely get Naples yellow because that's a little bit more of a dull yellow. So now I'm going to take a little bit of this orange, and I'm going to put the back mountain in there, or clouds. Maybe you're right, it's maybe clouds. You decide on what you want to put in there. Is it either clouds or like a mountain, back mountain? I'm going to make it a mountain. You make it whatever you want. I'm going to separate them with value. And thanks for reminding me I should do it while it's wet, because that way it'll be soft edged and it's way in the distance. And like you said, Mike, this is probably clouds back there, but you can do whatever you want. You make it whatever you want. I'm going to make it like a little bit of a mountainy hill. All right, so I think that's going to be my background. So I kept it all nice and wet, And now I'm going to take a little bit of that color and just work my way down through the lights. This is still my lights. These are my lights, right? Now I had to put a little bit of middle tone in there because remember I said that I'm not quite sure if I want to make that into darker light. So this is pretty much a little bit into my light and my dark. So this part is darker. That's into my light area. And now we're going to get our glossiness on the water. And I didn't wet this part because of a reason that I want to take the brush across it quickly and take the same colors for the water back here especially. And look at what I'm doing across the paper real quickly is I'm just skimming my brush across the paper to make it look like it's textury, because I'm not going to do every wave back there, but I can make this textury with the colors that I used here. And then here I'm just going to go across on a dry surface. I didn't wet this surface. Take a little bit of lavender, float that in there too. It can be a little bit brighter. Maybe a little bit more of this lavender, or I mean this purple. And there's a wave right here, which I gotta watch out for. But I'm doing my light still. This is my light. I'm just reflecting that in there, trying to get this. This right down here is going to be where my white stays. It's gonna be a wave. And as I come forward, I am going to make some more yellow in the water, but I'm also going to put some, I think, violet. A little bit brighter violets in here. So I'm actually kind of using very little color in it. Oh well, we'll see. And again, like I said, this is the first time I'm doing it, and so usually I'm doing my class when I have my class. I go in there and we mess around, and then I know what to do in the evening here. So that because it didn't work out or it did work out. Could use a little bit of blue because I do have orange in here, so I could use a little bit of blue, but make it kind of like a purpley blue. And see, I am not working into water. There's no water down. It's I'm skimming my brush across the top of it and getting my lights and making it look like the water is rippled. I'm trying to make a rippled effect by using, now I'm going to use a little bit more blue here. I know the sky is yellow and there's going to get some yellow in here, but I want to have some different, so warm background, cool foreground. I'm going to make this cool and then the background warm. Normally you only do that with sun or for snow scenes, but since it snowed here today, we can make it a little bit of both. And I got to make sure that this down the middle is the whitest part. See how it's just really bright? The people are not there. Pretend like the people are not there yet. You're going to paint right through them. Do not paint around them. Paint through them. They are all really dark on top of a light. That's one of the biggest things I also try to get people to do who are beginners is just don't paint around the figures if they're in front and they're light. I mean they're dark against the light. And see, I'm going from purple and then just a little bit of this more of this blue in front. That's okay to have a blue. I think I kind of like that. Go right through them. Now, if you notice, I've been shading a lot of my darks when I do my pencil sketch. That's a new thing for me. I used to never do that, but I actually love it now. I love shadowing and taking the graphite and just shadowing my pencil lines. So I know where the darks are. It makes it so easy then when I go to paint to see where my darks are. And when you're painting over them, yes, sometimes a little bit of the graphite goes into the paint, but that's okay because it's going to be really dark anyways. You probably have Naples yellow. We had to use it in Don's workshop. Yeah, I think I do. I probably have somewhere. I don't have it in this palette though. Questions? I'm just looking to see if you guys have questions. Hey Dave. Hey everybody. So, and also when I get to the front of the water here, I want to make it a little bit more contrasty. And look at, I even had some watermark right here, and so that's great. Watermarks are great in water when you're doing water like this because it looks like a little splash of the water. like the wave. It makes it look like a wave. There's one place you can use it. Use a little bit of yellow on the edge here. Now it's all wet, and so now I'm getting all the wet parts here. The sand has some yellow in the front here. Again, put some white in that yellow. And the sand is going to be part of my darks, my large middle tones and darks, and that's next. But first I still want to get my lights. I'm still going in here, working my lights a little bit. And I kind of want to get these done so I don't have to go back into it, like all these little waves. And that's step 3, which is details. But like I always tell my classes too, is that sometimes you have to switch back and forth. You can get some soft edges and hard edges and some detail when you're doing step 1. You know, sometimes you have to put some detail into it, and that's okay. It's just that's generalized when I'm talking about the different steps. That's not like exactly. Sometimes it doesn't have to be exactly like you're getting all this and that. You just have to. Each painting has a little bit difference to it. So sometimes you have it, sometimes you can't. So now my large mediums would be, well, that my large medium, but now I'm going to do the sand, which is a medium, and my darks, and then basically all the people are detailed. So this is going to be a very simple painting. Very simple painting. So let's get our darks, middle tone darks now. Let's take a little bit of orange in here. Let's see what we can get here. I'm not sure why I'm using such a small brush. All right. So here I'm just going in with all the colors I've been using already, like the orange, yellow, put some yellow in there, and then violet, make it gray. Kind of makes it brown. And I also use a little bit of that blue and lavender, so put that in there too. And this is the middle tone, and I'm wetting it as I go along. I didn't wet it. I didn't pre-wet it with just water. I'm doing it with pigment in my brush. And this is the middle tone, but look down here how dark that is. Now I'm going to make it that dark as I see it in the photograph. I'm going to almost make it black, but really, really nice and dark, but with color, a little bit more color than you see there. A little bit of blue in there. So this is the medium. This is the medium tone I'm going in for right now. And since the sun is right here, I'm going to make that a little bit lighter. So I'm going to take my brush and pull out some of the lights of that beach right here. Now it's wet, and I can always pull out some of the pigment by just letting it absorb back into my brush. Even put some white in there. See, when you float white, it acts like just pigment, you know, and so it floats around and it's still going to be opaque. I mean, it's going to be transparent when you have a lot of water. And maybe white, it just makes your colors lighter, and if you have a lot of water, it will be transparent. So white can be transparent, and I'm not sure if you know that. But everybody thinks just because it's pastel color that it won't be transparent, but it is. It's transparent because I'm floating it in water. So there's basically my middle tones and my lights, and maybe I'll make this a little bit darker in front here. Maybe put a little bit more color of orange in down the front here so it comes forward compared to what's back there. And also there's like footprints all over this beach maybe. Well, this part is pretty even right here, so again I'm going to make this a little bit lighter right there. I am using a watercolor board. This is the crescent board. I thought I was using I forgot, yeah, it's a crescent board. See, crescent. And it's bowing a little bit up. See how it's bowing up a little bit? But no big deal though. Now I'm going to leave this for getting darker later when I put my darks in. Right now I'm getting all my lights and my middle tones. And some of the darks through right here. Take a little bit of this violet, this blue for this. There's like churning water right here. There's a little bit of churningness going on here. So let's get a little bit of that. I'm going to use that a little bit dry brush like. There's nothing wrong with dry brush either. And it doesn't look like you overworked it when you're doing dry brush, when you're trying to get an effect of a texture in your paper. That's why I keep it dry and then I go over with my brush, and that gives me a texture look. And it's a little bit different looking than if you're using, if you're trying to go over a wash a couple times and it looks like it's just textured, but it should look not textured. So for that you need to use wet into wet. Let me have a little bit more of this beer, which is 10.5. That's probably the highest you heard me say. Very good. So now let's go over here, get a little. Again, I was going to put a little bit lighter, brighter colors right here where the sun is hitting. That has to be the lightest, right through the middle here. So I'm going to put a little bit thicker, a little bit more orangey. And then my waves over here can be more colorful. And then they can go to blue. They can go to like purpley blue. These little white things I'm going to just get rid of. All right, so that's pretty much my mediums and my lights. So next is large darks, and my detail darks, kind of pretty much together. And so I'm going to start and work from my back forward. I know it's I probably should get this big part done here, but that's my center of interest, and so I'll work that as my detail darks, as part of my detail darks, even if it's a big area. But let's get these little guys done back there. And when you draw them, you can do those David's dabs. You can do these little figures. You don't have to be doing anything in particular. Like, you can't really tell. But the farther they are back, the more they're going to be lighter. A little bit lighter, and maybe even some of the color that you have there, purple. And I'm just going to, like, do their leg. We're not going to do back here a lot of color because I don't want that to be very colorful back there. And again, if it's hazy, it's aerial perspective that you're getting through this area. And I'm going to do that wave back there. And I'm going to make a little bit of that purpley blue. I'm using, what's that? That is composed blue, which is kind of a nice, almost a purpley blue. Or is that Verditor? No, that's composed blue. I'm just going to get this wave. There's one big wave right here. And it goes up and down. I'm going to put them right over the people because I can make the people darker over that. And put some yellow when it gets to here again. That way it's going to be a little bit more yellow. Dark, but it's going to be a little bit more yellow or orange. And a lot of times it also has little lines, like it's dripping over. And so you can do that too. Little lines and kind of like an angle. Back to a little bit darker when it gets past the, does that go all the way across? It kind of goes right to here. I kind of drew it in. I think it goes right to there, because there's that guy's head, so almost by this guy's head here. Do I ever use neutral tint? Barbara asked. Yeah, there's neutral tint in here and a black. This is peach black and neutral tint, so there is some neutral tint right here. That's neutral tint, so it's not quite as dark as black, and kind of more on a blue, a cool color. So yes, I do use it. Yep. A little bit of orange in this. So again, I'm going more with like orange and warm back there, and then as I come forward, I'm getting some of these blues in there. and I'm maybe getting it a little bit darker, and we'll have warmth down the middle, cooler on the sides. I think that'll work. I think. Again, this is the first time I'm doing this one, so we're playing it by ear. We're trying to see if we can do this. You know, I used to never ever do a painting twice. It used to bug the heck out of me. I used to never be able to get the want. I never wanted to do that. I was like, oh, I'm so tired of this painting. But ever since I've been doing that with the class, and I realized that, boy, you know, doing a painting one small, then even when I'm doing like paintings that are in my studio, I kind of like to do them small first and just try them out to do like a little study of them, and it makes it so much better the second time you do it. So you can pick up color schemes that you want to try, and you just try things, and that's really kind of good if you're doing it small like this. Like if I were to do this one really big, I would do this first, and then I can do them really big, and then I know what kind of colors I'm maybe going to use, and you make all the mistakes on the small one. Then when you go to do the big one, you'll know what to do. So I highly recommend. It's sort of like doing a color sketch of it, the color value study. It's a little bit of like a little test, you know. It's like testing the waters to see how it's going to look when you do something big. Because when you spend a lot of time on something really big, then it's like, oh man, I should have done this differently. And so you can just test all that stuff out that you couldn't do if you're doing it really large, and then you're like, oh, I should have done it this way before. So don't be afraid of doing a small color scheme sketch. I hear the train. Go right over the people. It's a transparent wash that I'm putting over this, so you can go right over them. You can put them in later. All right, we hear you, train. We hear you. And that was the train I took to work for close to 35 years into the city of Chicago. When I hear that thing, I would have to start running. If I'm not halfway there, I couldn't make it. But if I heard that sound, the horn, I could still make it. If I'm about halfway there, I'd have to start running. And for those that are new, that don't know what, was an illustrator for most of my life. I was an illustrator for TV storyboards, which means I did, you know, these storyboards for television commercials. Every movie, every television commercial has a storyboard to help make the commercial or the movie. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing the water. I'm basically doing the water now. Again, not worrying about the people. I'm worrying to make the water look good. And that's just getting the dark parts of the water and a wave. The wave that's dark, part of the wave is the side that's pointing towards you. That's how water works. It's like a mirror. And so when it's at you, it's blocking the sun from hitting it. And then you do see reflections like from the people above it, and you can put them in too. You can put that little reflection into some people. If it gets kind of flat in that area, you put little reflections in there. Because that's very shallow until you get way out there. Put little waves. Again, look at how you go right through the people. I pretend like the people are not there yet. You have to do that. Don't go around things, especially that are going to be dark on top, because it just looks terrible when you have you start going around it. You're going to leave little white lines. If you go through it, it just makes more sense. And it's one of those things in watercolor that makes watercolor that you can go through your lights, go through your darks with your lights. It's a thing. That's basically one of those things in watercolor that you should be doing. Painting through your darks with light washes. Now I'm getting a bunch of these waves. Again, I'm trying to get the waves. And how detailed you want it is up to you. You can go in there and make every single wave, or you make it more impressionistic and just put a few of them in. That's up to you how many you want to put in there and how detailed you want it. The value pattern will work either way. See, that's a nice thing. You get the value pattern working for you, and you can do it really tight or you can do it really loose. But that value pattern has to be there. And that's one thing you cannot get away from. And look at how light my background got. It got really light, but that's it. I'm not going to go back over that. I could, if I had re-wet it all, I could take my big brush and re-wet it, but it is what it is. We're going to keep it at that. All right, now I'm ready to do my people, because I think I've got the water pretty close to where I want it. So we're just going to go in there with these dark colors and then just hit them, and I'm using my smaller round brush, and that's going to give me like a silhouette shape of the people. I'm not going to make, I don't have to make them look three-dimensional. I just have to make them look like people in a silhouette shape. I could put like some color in there, but not until I get up here. Back there, it's basically, the farther back they are, the lighter they are. And as I come forward, I can get them a little darker. And then when I get up here, that's when I can start putting color in there too. And these people back here are part of my darks, so they have to be darker than my lights, though. They do have to be darker than my light areas. That's the value pattern that I showed you in the beginning, right? When you make it black and white, when you make a no tan of it. And they don't have to be perfect, these little people. And make this one a little bit more lavender. These are a little bit farther back. Thank you, Maria, for asking them to hit the like button. Always helps to have everybody hit the like button a little bit there. Thank you. So it was fun judging a show. I judged the Kentucky Watercolor Society show, and there's some really good work in it, boy. You know, and it really made me see that work just doesn't look as good in a photograph and even online than it does when you see it real. There's no comparison, really. I don't know if it's just because it's looking through light when you're seeing a photograph, and even my painting I'm doing here now, when you see it live, it's so much nicer when you see it live. So yeah, because right now it's pretty light, and it's pretty close to this, you know, but depending on how light your television is or your computer screen, you know, that all matters on the look of your painting. So subtlety is a hard thing to see when it comes to subtlety in working on the screen digital. It's just not the same than if you see it a real thing. Here's some of the waves. Alright, so there's the people back there. Putting maybe some extra here. I look at the grouping, and I just don't want to dot, 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 like that. And watch the heads, that you don't make the heads too big. Most people make the heads way too big. They're very small little dots. Don't make these big round things. It just doesn't look good when you're doing really big round balloon heads. And I will put, there's a little bit, they look a little bit of, they look too cool, so I'm going to put some warmth in them back there, because like I said, I'm going to put the warmth back here in the background and keep the color and the cool colors in the front here, with a lot more color too in general. Like a snow scene, that happens a lot in the snow scene, where you make it a little bit cooler back here, a little warmer back here, and cool in the front. All right. right, so now we have these, and they're, I like how they're grouped. This picture, I like how the people are grouped. It's important that they're not all over the place, like they're one here, one here, one here. It's like a grouping so that your eye kind of goes from this group to that group, and then to the background. And no matter how small it is, drawing is important. If it's really fine detailed, then, you know, follow the outer edge of your people. And then this is reflections because he's in the water all the way, so you don't see the bottom of his leg, but you see reflections from him in the water. Give this guy a little red, yeah, sunburn. And this, let's wait for this guy until later. Let's see here. How much time do I have here? I hadn't looked to see how much time I have. Yeah, so that's it for my workshops this year. This year's all done. No more traveling to any workshops, and so I've been planning next year to do a lot of plein air painting and a lot of competitions and get my book written. So there will not be as many workshops next year. There will be my ones in Florida, but I'm kind of cutting down on them just so that I can get my book written on drawing from your imagination. Basically, it's already written. I just have to get it together, so I got to figure out how I want to bring it out to you guys. Do I want to do it all, like do a workshop with it, so that online type of thing? Because it's going to take you 66 days to complete this mission in this book. It's basically a workbook so that you'll learn how to work from your imagination and work by drawing from your imagination, by memorizing your images. And it was a while for me when I was doing it. It took a while to learn how to do that, but I figure 66 days it takes to get into a habit, and that's what's proven. And it takes that long to get into a habit of something, and so that's why I'm doing it for 66 pages long and 66 assignments. We're going to get a little bit of that. And here we don't have well, we have a little dark right here. I may use some white in some of this foam or make it like an opaque color in there, but we'll see. Maybe not. This guy's pointing. Don't make them too thick, because if you make them too thick, they look like they have coats on or something. These guys have, you know, just their jeans or their bathing suits on, so they're getting a little bit thick here. And then I'm going to put some color. First I just put in just basically dark, and then I'll put in color on top of that, float color into the scene, into the wash, like when I float pigment. And you guys know that if you've taken my class. That's all I talk about, is floating your pigment. And you don't have to make it flesh tone, because it's silhouetted, so just it can be anything. It can be any color. I look for the drawing to make it look like it's flesh tone. You know, that they don't have a shirt on, and that's what the drawing shows. So like this guy right here is muscle. I can see his muscle, so I'll be a little bit more careful with his, and this hand right here. And this is gonna have to be much darker. And you can go warm, but I remember I said I'm gonna make it a little cool, so you have to watch your drawing, because when you have clothes on, then you have folds and stuff in the thing. Here it's just his back, and so you can make it nice, and you know the outer edge indicates that the person has a shirt on or not. It's all about the drawing when it comes to that. It's not about the color of this flesh tone. Once I put my color down, my one color, I put all kinds of colors in there then, especially in my center of interest, like this guy right here. And look how contrasty I'm making him. Put a little bit of warmth in there to show that flesh tone a little bit, but then Also darks, very nice darks. Maybe the shorts are, you know, black or dark blue or something, but I just make them dark like overall. And I make it wet in a wet, and you see how I'm kind of going through all of his body. Like, I'm not showing you that he's got pants on, because you don't really see that in the silhouette shape. You just know that the outer edge. And here he's carrying something, so maybe a bag of something that can reflect his leg. And then all these kids right here, there's a couple kids right there. I'm gonna bring them all together with the same wash. Don't be doing each individual person down here, and especially in the beginning. You just go in there and look at that you get the outer edge, and then later on when it's wet, then you can manipulate what's in front, what's behind. You don't want to do that when you're first wash, when you're floating your pigment. You want to get the outer edge to look right, and then everything else inside is floating your pigment. And definitely my scene looks a lot lighter than the picture, but that's okay. You don't have to go as dark as the picture, and it'll still have that same feel of light to dark. You know, it's still that. Still have the right values. So there's a sun, so there'll be a shadow right here that goes right into that. I'll make that right into this person. I'm going from left to right here a little bit. Get his little feet here. And this is done on hard edge. This is hard edge, so it has to be dry, the paper. Like this wash has to be dry. And you notice how I'm putting it right against there, so like you see the bottom, but in the picture it gets really dark here because of the shadowing. And I'm going to put that right away, right into this thing, so you don't see a line exactly right where he is sitting, so you don't really see that. If you don't know how to see it when you're drawing it, because you can't quite see that, well then do the same thing in your painting. Don't sit there and try to make it look just like, you know, the bottom of the leg. But if you don't see the bottom of the leg in your photo, do the same thing in your painting. I do that a lot when because there's a shadow down here, but where you don't see where the bottom is, then just don't put it in. And blur it. It's like it's blurry down there, so blur it. And you can put other colors in there, like maybe his shorts are orange or red. I can do that. And then there's a bunch of there's like, this is all in the shadow, and there's a lot of foot marks, footprints in the sand. So I'm just going to go like this now. Put those in the sand. Make some of this wet and make it really dark. Make it colorful and make some orange and purple. Make it pretty dark. I'm going to make his face a little bit and put a little nose on there. Looks like this is a lot of hair here. Messy hair this person has here. His head looks pretty big, but he's got a big mop of hair on top of his head. Now that I just used one color, right? And that doesn't look so good because I'm just using one color there. So I'm going to put a little bit of orange in this guy's face, a little orange in this guy's face, or girl's face. So you can't really can't tell that. That looks pretty bad right there. Okay. And his hair is really, really dark, or her hair is really, really dark. Make it. I'm just going to pick up some black. Make it really dark. Any questions? Let me know. Just speak up. Just type it in. I love questions. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself. It feels like I'm going to have to get this camera down lower so that you're not looking at the top of my head all the time. So we're trying to do little different things here with the camera work. See how this all bled together? This is all bleeding together. I don't want you to see what's happening here because it doesn't matter what's happening right here. And here we get a shadow coming from this guy's leg into this area. I'll take my big brush, my bigger round brush. I'm just going to make this nice and dark. Pick up the colors that the sand color is, and then just make it darker. And I'll make it even darker with putting really, really dark in that area too, so you don't see anything. I've been doing it a lot more since I started using black paper to see that sometimes if it's just that dark, it is black, and it's just so dark that you don't even see what's going on there. And that's a good way of just putting in objects and not having to worry about exactly what's going on in certain areas. It's like photographers blur areas so you don't even know what's going on in the areas, so we can do that too. We just have to do work wet into wet. Alright, so I have one more person here. And you do notice I do put some a little bit brighter colors, like in this area on this side of their body, just because that way. Boy, this guy doesn't look so good here. Let's put a hand, an arm coming down here. Just gonna put an arm coming down. This is where, you know, drawing comes in handy. Make sure you get your drawing right. It's all about drawing the outer edge. You don't know what's going on the inside, because that's just in shadow. It's silhouette. So it's the outer edge that you have to worry about. So the video is brighter? Okay, well that's good. And actually I made my lights darker because I think I was blowing out the thing, and so it makes it darker in some spots. So I don't know, I'm sure if that's what's happening. This I'm gonna make it a little bit darker. See how I don't do pieces? I don't do pieces of the body. I don't do like the pants, then the shoe, the sandals, or I paint it all together, because that way you don't really see it in the photograph either, right? So why would you do pieces of the objects on the beach here? And these guys back here, we can make. I notice that I'm gonna make parts a little bit different. But first you do the big walkthrough, where you go through, you do the washes all the way through, and then you can go back in there and kind of detail little parts of it. So like where the bottom of the shorts are maybe, or you know, you just put a little hint of that in there. Like maybe the hair here. And something like this, if you're doing this plein air, you're going to have to just memorize, and that's where my book will come in handy for you. You have to memorize the scene, because that person is not going to be standing there for you like that. So you have to just quickly do a sketch or memorize it in your head, and then just having the ability to do things like that, draw from your imagination, really helps a lot when you're plein air painting. Like here we have a photograph of it, but you know, when you're plein air painting, you don't have a photograph of it to see the people out there. So you draw it up and then you just memorize it. And that's where it helps. Memorizing your scene. Memorizing, knowing how to do a person without actually seeing a person in front of you. Not everything can be, you know, where you have a person in front there standing there for forever. Alright, so now just a few more washes here for the water reflection, and then we're going to be pretty close here, guys. So ask some more questions. Put a little purple, and I will be putting darker parts in here, but right now this is like a middle tone dark and a dark, but I'm going to actually put even darker when this dries. I'm going to put more of these. I'm going to dip into really dark colors, like I'm going to take a black, Prussian blue, and I am going to go like really dark with it. And I'll look at, think, okay, the sun's coming this way, and so what part, like maybe his hair's right here. He's got his neck coming down here. And then maybe the bottom is right about there. This guy's legs comes down, and so I can make it a little bit more identified, so it's not as fuzzy. But don't overdo that. You don't just want to make it enough so that you can kind of see the important parts. And that I'm doing with really dark. I'm doing with almost black, lavender, Prussian blue. It's super dark. And then I can also put a couple dots in there for the because I don't want to get that nice wash of watercolor look in there. I don't want to get rid of that, but I do want to do a little bit more detail. So I just have to make it slightly darker than what's in the shadow already. And over here too, there's some footsteps. So these footsteps are a little bit too dark. See, I should go just slightly darker than the background, but what's underneath it. Just slightly darker. Because I don't want to change the value of this area. I just want to show footprints in the sand. And what oil painters would do right now is then they go back in with this little like lights, because they put their lights in last, and this in my video looks so light, but in the actual painting is a little bit darker than you see that. And so it's fine, you know, and but it just has that look like it's really light in the video here, and that could just be my screen too. A bit of light through here. And this is all details now. This is just details for the water, the reflections. I could put white like on some parts, like to the top of the wave. I could put a little white there, but I'm not going to do that. I think it looks fine the way it is. On the bottom of this water, I can put like a nice dark edge around the bottom of the water. Sometimes a pencil line does that for you, like because when the wave rolls in, it's shadowed, right? Because it's shadowed. This is sun, and on this side of the wave, it'll be a little bit darker. And this is just wet sand that's reflecting and making it look like a mirror and reflecting the light above. Let's put a little bit more color in here. I don't want to make them too colorful with the opaqueness, because then I lose that nice spontaneity of a wet into wet wash. You know, the wet into wet wash where it looks very transparent. Because if you start using gouache, then it's a different look. It's basically then more of a kind of oil painting look, or a gouache. It definitely is different than a painting that looks like a watercolor, transparent watercolor. It has a little feel, if you put it in gouache, it has a little bit of a feel of an oil painting or an acrylic painting where it's thick. Put these in here. One more minute, right? That's all I have. That's all I need. Whatever's on this side of the body, make sure it's on that side of the body. Like, always go through these things. Don't stop and make it not. So once it's on this side, go on this side. All right, there you guys have it. I don't have another one to show you this afternoon because this is the one. And yeah, this is not that great right up there. I don't like that kind of, but too late. Nothing I can do about that. And see how it's a little bit darker. I mean, the light's really pounding it this time. Yes, Gail, this is a watercolor board. Yep, it's a a little bit. This is the crescent board, so it's a little bit more not so textury. But there you have it, guys. Let me see what you do with this one. This one I'm kind of interested to see what you guys do. And again, this looks really light on the screen, but it's not quite as light as it looks on the screen. So, but some of you said you like it that way. So cool. Thanks so much, guys. And so I will hopefully see you on Sunday. I do Sunday mornings. I do a demonstration where I just practice. And if you want to come along and look, I'll be there Sunday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Any questions also after this, after you get done, after I'm done here, and you still have questions and it shuts down your chat here, you can go into the description and and just ask it there, because it'll email me that question and I will definitely answer it. All right. So we'll see you later, guys. Thanks again. Bye-bye.